All right, and we are back here once again for the next podcast for Survivor 50. This is episode 3, and there is a lot to talk about once again. This season has just been on fire and really just isn't stopping anytime soon. I mean, these people are playing the game hard. They came here to play the most intense game of their lives, and I don't think it's stopping anytime soon, and I'm really just loving every second of it. But of course, I am not here alone. I do have a guest with me. Has not been on this channel for quite some time, but very excited for her to make her big return. Here is the amazing Grace Yonsei, or Grace Goddess, I should say.
I'm Grace Goddess for this pod, yo. Nice. I have to live up to my name.
You're right. How are you doing?
I am good, thriving, living the. I've been moving around since the last time I was probably living in Georgia still. The last time I was on this podcast.
That was the last time.
I was in Georgia, dang, because I've traveled to. I lived in Connecticut, and then now I'm in Florida. I'm in Orlando. I'm near Disney, so I'm literally like I'm a Disney adult now. So I know people are gonna get tired of me, but I am doing good.
Yeah, it has definitely been a long time and definitely a lot to update on, but always great to have you. Before we do start off, I just want to know, Grace, what are your initial thoughts on Survivor 50 so far?
My initial thoughts on Survivor 50 so far, not gonna lie, I only I watched all the first episode, and then I only saw like the second part of the second one because me and Seb don't get off of work until 8 o'clock, so we don't get to get home until and settled. And so I only saw like the vote out, like the vote out and the vote build up to that. And then I just watched before this podcast, I just watched all of episode 3, which we will be talking about. But this season, it's going pretty, like it looks pretty good. It's so nice to be able to see everybody back on the back on together again. That is a really cool thing. And I like I kind of wish they had like more older castaways there. I feel there's like too many new era people, but you know what? They have a lot of personality.
Especially is very much like that.
Yeah, but they have a lot of personality though. So I'm all good with them. And this is a pretty unique watch for me because I've really slacked so much of watching like all the Survivor seasons. So a lot of these people I have not seen on their seasons, but it's fun seeing them now.
Yeah, admittedly, if you haven't watched this podcast, there's a lot of seasons I haven't watched, which is why we'll be doing a little retrospective at the end of this of someone I don't really want to talk about, but we're going to talk about her anyway. I'm sure Grace is excited. But no, in all seriousness, I've been loving this season. I think that you can tell they picked the right group of people. There are some people that annoy me, Joe, but for the majority of the cast, I'm really enjoying pretty much everybody here. So we're just gonna go ahead and get started. Oh, it's Evie.
Yes. Evie, what do you think of Survivor 50, girl?
The most important opinion. We do have to ask Evie.
Here's the thing with me. I forgot to say in my introduction. You can't have me without her.
You're right. It's like a rites of passage. Evie has to be there. It's not it's just not Grace without Evie. She just got to be there. But anyway, so we're gonna get started here. So we start off this episode after the tribal with Sela. Something I somehow forgot to leave off at the end of the last episode. I think I was just kind of rushing through it because I had something to take care of. At the end of last episode, Christian faked this like fall of sorts and everyone was like concerned for him. But it turns out he planted this fake idol with Rick, and Christian is like ecstatic about it. He's like, this has never happened before in Survivor. This is an amazing. I am sure it has happened before. I am sure this is something that people have done. But like, the fact that he's like freaking out about it, again, I've said it before, Christian's just becoming one of my favorites on this season, and this episode really was no different. What are you thinking of Christian's gameplay so far?
Christian's gameplay so far, that fake idol thing was definitely interesting. I love how he's saying, it's never been done before. I don't know what other seasons, but I definitely have heard of something like that being done before. So, yeah, you're not the only one, but I don't know. He is a
No.
I definitely think on his Sela tribe, I definitely think he was in a very decent spot, especially I actually do really enjoy the dynamic that he has with Rick and Emily. I just feel they complement each other so well. And
Yeah.
I definitely think like at that point, and I think if they like stayed in there, well, we'll go into discussion about it. I feel like on that tribe, he would have been like one of the last people to go home.
Yeah, I mean, Christian, I think has been in an amazing spot this entire game. I think he knew what he needed to do from the beginning, and he picked the right people. And I mean, we see in this episode, Emily was a fantastic pick, despite something she does. I think she still was a fantastic pick because she's a very like level-headed player and things like that. And I think the three of them just complement each other so nicely. And I really just hope that we continue to see those three in lockstep throughout the majority of this game because I think that it's just such a fun dynamic to watch so far. It's probably my favorite dynamic that's going on right now. I very much agree with you.
I've been really enjoying like watching those three specifically together because like I said, they complement each other so well personality wise. And they also have the gameplay with like they each are strong in their gameplay as well to where it just works. And yeah, no, it's really nice. Like Christian, good position. Rick, I didn't know how I was gonna feel about him because I saw from 38 a lot of people complain about him, and a lot of people were like, just oh, I don't like him. Oh, just had all this stuff to say about him when it was airing. But from what I've seen so far, he's a likable character for me, and I'm like, okay, I vibe with him, and plus his accent too. I'm like, see, you're a homie because I know because he's from Georgia and he has such a Georgian accent. I'm like, you're a homie. And then Emily, oh, I have a fun story I want to tell about her.
Yes,
That
we'll get it. Yes, we'll get into that in a second. What I will say about Rick, that Mike, who was on the podcast a couple days ago, was actually saying that he wasn't like a huge fan of his. So I guess that's like a pretty common consensus that it's like people aren't really Rick Devens fans. But it does seem like people are coming around to him this season, which is pretty good. But anyway, your Emily story is way more interesting than anything I have to say. So go ahead.
Yeah, so Emily, I'm like rooting for her so hard. And it's not like just because like watching her season, that was a trip because she's to me, she's just so unlucky because she just keeps being on such unlucky tribes.
Yeah.
But I am also rooting for her because back in December, me and Seb, so my mom got us for Christmas for a present, she got us annual passes for Disney. And so me and Seb had already the day before we went to Disney, we had already my mom got him the day before and we had already taken the day off of work because it was 2 years since he proposed to me. I'm like, we'll have a little day for ourselves. And so we had other stuff we are gonna do, but my mom getting the passes, we're like, fuck it, let's go to Magic Kingdom tomorrow. And so we went to Magic Kingdom and going about our day, and then we get hungry because when you're riding all the rides and walking around, you're going to get and smelling all the snacks and everything, you're gonna get hungry. And so we went and had lunch, and it was in Frontierland, this little quick service kiosk. And we order our food, and we're waiting for it. And there's a woman that's waiting for her food next to me and Seb. And Seb is looking over, he keeps looking at her. And he kind of says quietly to me, he said, Grace, look at that woman right there. And I look at her and I'm kind of like, oh. And he said, that girl looks like Emily. And I'm looking at her, I'm like, nah, you're tripping. I don't think that's her. I think that's just somebody that looks like her. I'm like, I gotta look at it. I'm like, I could see it, but I don't know. And then she gets a call. Somebody calls her, or someone comes up to her. I forgot. Or someone came up to her and she started talking to them. And she starts talking, and Seb is like, she sounds just like Emily. And I'm like, okay, maybe again coincidence. Somebody could just look like her. Someone could have sound similar to her.
No.
I don't want to know. And then like, um, I know Seb was messaging our friend, well, people who know Jacob about it.
Yes.
She was like, please ask her randomly. And then so she walked away for a second. She comes back next to us, and Seb looks at her and she's like, hey, I got a question for you. And she's like, yeah, what's up? And he's like, are you Emily from Survivor? And she says, yes, I am. And me and Seb are like, our jaws dropped.
Yeah.
We were like, oh my God. Like, we're just getting our food and she's right next to us. And we just happened to run into her. It was the craziest thing. And she was really sweet. And she was like, what do y'all think of Survivor? Like, do y'all like Survivor? Like, are y'all excited for this season? She was just talking to us for a little bit. And then we took photos with her. It was a very brief moment, but like, she was super kind though. And just seemed like very good energy. So that's why I'm like another reason why I want her to do so well in this season.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. It's always crazy when, like, you know, you're in some place like Disney and you see someone that looks like a Survivor alum, and it turns out it is that Survivor alum. So
And it turned out to be her. It
yeah.
was so, and the craziest thing about it was like this was literally a week after Over the Edge, where me and Seb literally had just met a bunch of Survivor and Big Brother people. And she just shows up out of nowhere at Disney World of all places where there's so many people, and we run into her. It was fate. I believe it was fate.
You're not quite done yet, and there she is. But yeah, no, I've been a huge Emily fan since 45, and I'm really loving the way she's playing this game so far. I think she's by far one of my contenders to win right now, especially after this episode. But yeah, so we going back to Christian and Rick, basically they talk to each other and they kind of talk about the fact that they feel like there's probably going to be a swap. There's tree mail. They kind of come to the conclusion that's what's going to happen. So they know that there's a good possibility they're going to end up with Aubrey at a swap. So they need to make sure that Idol is protected in some way. So they're going to try to come up with this plan to let Emily and Suri in on what's going on. Or he could also make Rick seem like he's the one who did it. Rick decides to go with the plan of this was my idol, and so Emily and Suri are like ecstatic about it, and you know they're really excited to see how the idol works, but might not be the greatest move for Christian, because then we get to the swap time and we get one of the cringiest things that they could have done on this season, with Jeff just rapping for like a whopping like 40 seconds. I don't know what is going on these days in terms of Jeff Probst and him trying to add all these musical moments to Survivor, but please stop. It's not working. What would you think of this thing they did?
See me shaking my head as you're talking about it. I remember that part of the episode I was still working. I'm just doing my work and listening. I hear him. I had the biggest eye roll of my life. I'm like, dude, you're white as fuck. Why are you rapping right now? Why?
So you,
like,
so you
stop,
don't
just stop.
You don't want to drop your bluffs because it's time to drop your buffs?
Not really. I want to swap another way that's not him freaking rapping. And also, my thing, and I have a comment in regards to this whole season, and I don't know whether this is going to be a hot take or not. Some of it may be a hot take, but I feel this whole rapping thing and all that's not the Survivor, the first Survivor seasons. That's not the Survivor that I've seen and the Survivor that I've watched. Like, dude, what are you doing in that rapping? What are you trying to do? Like, it's cringy, and
especially on 50, no less. Like, if this was 48, where like the cast was like fucking weird and like talking about honor and integrity constantly, like that I can understand. You know, they're doing the fried chicken and waffles thing, like I can understand that. On 50, when you brought back all these people, like there you could see like Colby was not feeling this at all. Like he was like all right, man, let's wrap this up. Like we don't need to be doing this. Like some of them were into it, but like a lot of them were not. So I really don't know what he was thinking here. I think this is easily something that like you could have just like done on your own as like something for like your own entertainment, but like for 50, you brought back all these people. It does not feel appropriate at all, especially as a way to announce a swap.
Literally, I don't know. I have a worry for this season specifically, and kind of going into like maybe what be a hot take. My thing is that you're supposed to be doing an all-stars type season with this, but there's some of the stuff that's in this season, like this rapping, Mr. Beast, Billie Eilish as a queen, but having an idol and that's a cool idol, and then having all these celebrities just show up out of nowhere. I don't know. I just feel like it's losing the point of the game. It's gonna lose. I'm just so nervous that this kind of stuff is gonna become so distracting away from the gameplay.
Yeah.
And it's like
I agree with you. I think for me, like I definitely had the same concern, especially when they initially introduced the Billie Eilish idol. I think what is keeping me hopeful is the caliber of gameplay we have going on. I think that these are people who know how to play Survivor and are finding ways to still make this stuff interesting. Like the Billie Eilish idol, I think in a regular season could have been really boring, but you put it in a returnee season and have it be like this boomerang thing, I think it's a lot more exciting. So I think there's definitely concerns to have, and I'm not excited for like fucking Zach Brown to show up next week and things like that. But you know, I think that the way they've implemented it so far, at least right now, is fine. It doesn't feel like it's taking away from the show too much, but again, we haven't actually seen any of these celebrities show up, and that might potentially change things around, change things
up. But I do think, especially with the returnee season, that the boomerang idol, I think it's a very cool. That is a very cool idol.
Yeah, I'm really liking the way they've implemented it so far. I think it's really cool the way they've gone about it. And speaking of the boomerang idol, we go to the back to the episode here. Christian decides, because we got a bit of a tangent with that terrible thing that Jeff Probst did, but let's go back to the stuff that's actually where we talk about Christian does something that I don't think this was the right move. He basically goes right to Emily and he's like whispering, he's like, yeah, Aubrey's got the idol. And Emily's like, why the fuck would you tell me this now? Like, we're supposed to be allies. You should have let me in on this from the beginning. So she's really not happy about this at all, especially as they're about to swap. Look, this is what I'll say. I think telling Emily obviously is the right move. Telling her right as you're about to swap when you've likely told other people, very much not. Like if I'm Emily in this situation, it kind of feels like I'm always going to be the last to find out things that you're doing. You're not including me on things. This doesn't feel like an actual alliance. Like the thing with Emily is that she's extremely observant, and you should know that from like watching her season. And I just feel like this was like a rare fumble from Christian. Like he's played very well so far. This was like the first thing where I'm like, I don't think this was the move.
That was very like, I understand what he was like, why he didn't slip it through in the first place, because of the fact when he tried to tell her, all these people started showing up. Like I get that end, but to Emily, but it was also not very smart too, because to Emily, it's like if you're telling her right there, first of all, I see that. First of all, you're risking other people around you watching Christian whisper in your ear. And it's not just your tribe, it's the full cast seeing this. So they're gonna think, they're gonna think maybe those two are tight with each other. So that was why that's stupid in the first place.
Yeah.
And then second, I get on in Emily's defense and Emily's point of view. It's like, why are you telling me this and leaving me with very little room to like process this information? And it's like, how long were you holding on to it for as well? So I definitely, like I said, I can see both ends, but like, yeah, that was not very smart. I kind of feel like he should have said nothing then, and then waited till he had, because they ended up, we'll get into it, but ended up being together, and waited to tell her then.
Yeah, I think what he could have done is he could have lied about like the time that the boomerang idol had. Like he could have said something like, "If we swap, I had to do it now." That was something that it said on the parchment. And then he could have been like, I gave it to Aubrey. I didn't have a chance to tell anybody else. I needed to send it before we left. And I think then Emily would have been more understanding. But again, it's the way he went about it. It's like, dude, like we're not actually working together. Like it was very, like I said, a rare misstep for Christian. But anyways, they all draw rocks and they're assigned to their new tribes. And these are the new tribe dynamics here. So on Sela, it's basically Sari and Rick with all the new era people, which is really funny. And we'll talk about how that whole dynamic is going. On Kalo, you have basically all of you got like Colby and Genevieve, and but then you're also adding like Chrissy and Joe and Aubrey, as well as Tiffany. So that's Kalo. And then on Batu, you have Emily, Christian, Ozzy, Mike, Q, Angelina, and Stephanie. So I really like this swap. I really like the different dynamics we have going on here. I think it changes things up quite dramatically in a really interesting way. Kind of breaks a lot of people up. And also, what I will say about this episode is that everybody really kind of got a moment here. I can't think of one person here that didn't get.
Yeah, they did.
Which made me really happy because I was worried last episode that like I'm not seeing much from Camilla. I'm not seeing much from Tiffany. Like I'm not liking this. This isn't looking good. But thankfully here that changed things. So I was happy to see that. Thoughts on the tribes itself and the dynamics that and the different groups that we have here, and then we'll talk about the tribes as a whole.
So my first thought I remember seeing the tribes is the fact that all three David and Goliath people are together. That's going to, we'll talk more as we go through this podcast, but that's going to be interesting.
Yep.
And then you have another thing, like you have some people. I gotta pull up a photo of all the people. Hold on, give me 1 second.
Post it in the private chat here.
You post it in there.
There you go. Oh, that did not work the way I wanted it to. Hold on. I thought that would copy the names, but it just didn't. All right, there we go. That's Sela. Okay, that's I don't know that. Okay, that's Kalo, and then that is Batu. Okay.
The David and Goliath people together. Another thing that stuck out is Aubrey and Genevieve being together after their moment in the first episode. So that's going to be its own chaos waiting to happen if they ever lose. And then on Sela, I don't know. I kind of see them as I kind of was like, yeah, they're there, kind of. There's a lot of strong game players on this Sela tribe as well. So if they lost, I think it would be interesting on what would happen exactly.
Yeah, especially with what we hear about that's going to happen. I think my first thought, besides the David Goliath thing, is, oh my god, it's literally all the new schoolers in Surrey. Like, and I found that to be very interesting, the way that was put together. But yeah, let's get into the tribes overall, because like I said, there's a lot to talk about here. So on Kalo, we see Joe, and Joe is just like ecstatic here, because apparently when he went into 50, the two people he wanted to work with the most were Coach and Colby, of course, the athletic men, because that's all Joe knows how to work with, would be people on his team because of their core values, and they could be a great alliance and help each other out. And Colby talks about how Joe is someone he would connect with and bond with, and Coach, while they got pitted against each other, they never had an issue with him, and he feels like he is hell of a strong game player. And then Coach has this moment that I just couldn't help but laugh at because it's Coach, and he thanks Joe for starting the honor and integrity thing.
I saw that.
Basically tells him that like he's the reason that he played, and that he feels like, that they're going to be in a good spot. And I'm watching this, I'm like, Coach is happy that like Joe played a game of honor and integrity when this is Coach, the guy that lies to people's faces and then like feels good about it and has done that this season already. Like what the fuck is happening here?
I don't know. I have never seen his seasons before this. he's just here for the chaos, and he's here to
Yeah,
cause trouble, and he
yeah,
wears that badge loud and proud.
yeah. Yeah, no, he is very much just like, I'm gonna do whatever the fuck I want, and you just have to be okay with it. Like, you don't get to have an opinion, you just have to like what I'm doing. And I'm just gonna do it. Like, I really don't care. And I think that's just so fun to watch. So again, hearing him, like him saying that he cares so much about the honor integrity thing, it's like, okay, sure, whatever.
Sure.
Um,
He has
but yeah,
another moment on this tribe in this episode
yeah,
that was also crazy as well.
yeah. But yeah, Joe Colby and Coach, this is not lasting, right? Like, this is not going to be a thing.
Mm-mm.
There's no fucking way. There's no way. Um, but yeah, so they got a 3. They're locked in. Basically, the plan now is that Coach wants to potentially pull in Chrissy because he's convinced, which I think this is pretty much true. Like, Chrissy would have gone home on Kahlo if they would have gone to Tribal. So he decides that he's going to just straight up tell her how things are going. This is one of many times where someone is told directly that, hey, people don't like you. You're rubbing people the wrong way. And Chrissy has this moment where, she's really heartbroken about this because her season, she felt like she wasn't really liked either. And, it was really getting to her, but she kind of talks about how, when she plays Survivor, when she's in her real life, she doesn't really seem to, feel down. She had these like, surgeries where she had like a scare of like breast cancer and ovarian cancer and things like that. And so she had all these different surgeries, and she, stayed positive the entire way through. But whenever she plays Survivor, it tends to bring her morale down because of the fact that like she's not well liked by people. But she talks about how this might be the information that she needs to kind of change up her game. I don't see this going great for Chrissy because I don't feel like we're getting enough content from her at this point. And so I kind of just have to feel like she's probably going to go in the next few episodes.
Not like that was like the only thing that I really saw from
Yeah.
her. But no, that was pretty. My thing is, but here's the thing: if I'm Chrissy though, and
Yeah.
Coach is literally like, "I want to work with
Mhm.
you. I always wanted to work with you." Okay, so why are you telling me this now and not when if you were that loyal to me and that willing to work with me? Why did you not tell me on our original tribe? Because
Yep.
it sounds like Coach would have voted her out faster than anything had they gone to tribal, but now he needs a number, and so now he wants to tell her when it's
Yeah.
convenient.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I get kind of what he's doing, but he went about it in like such a messy way where it's like I think Chrissy generally like wanted to work with Coach because the fact that Coach had won that challenge, and now he's just kind of like using that against her. So yeah, I don't really see this going well for Chrissy. So she does go to Genevieve and Aubrey. There's kind of this sweet moment where she's talking about how she just kind of feels like people just generally dislike her. She's had this great life. She doesn't understand why she chose to like put herself through this again. And Genevieve's really trying to like calm her down, telling her like the swap may be exactly what she needed. And that's great. But again, I just don't see things going great for her at this point. I don't see Chrissy going far in this game. That's unfortunate because I feel bad for her in this segment, but I just don't see it panning out. So we'll have to see. Who I do see going far here is Genevieve, who talks about how she was really happy on the Vatu tribe, especially having been in a majority alliance, but she really wants to like hit the ground running this time. And so she decides to basically form bonds with everybody that she hasn't. She talks to Joe, she talks to Chrissy, she talks to Colby, and she talks about how her plan is to kind of offer people safety very quickly and just kind of let it ride out from there. I don't think this is a bad strategy. I think the problem is that if you're Genevieve and you're like over promising people, I think that could definitely bite her in the ass, specifically something that happens later on that we'll talk about. I just don't know if this was amazing for Genevieve. I think she was in a good spot. I don't know if she's in as good of a spot on this swap.
Yeah, no. Oh, yeah, no. Wait, sorry, I was reading something. You were talking about Chrissy
Oh,
still.
Genevieve. Genevieve.
Genevieve. Yeah. I'm nervous for her now, especially after her immediately going around being like, oh, Aubrey wanted me out, and like going around so quickly with that, and the fact that Tiffany just immediately told Aubrey, and Aubrey knows about it. Yeah, I feel here's the thing that I noticed with these like returnees that are like seen as kind of like legends, kind of like an Aubrey, a Suri. They literally like if anybody tries to talk bad on them or talk about their threat level, it never works out for them.
Yeah, exactly. And I think especially with what we saw with Jenna and Suri, this feels very similar to what's happening with Aubrey and Genevieve. So as much as I'd love to say I think Genevieve's gonna go very far, I think she's kind of fucked here because Tiffany doesn't want this to happen. Tiffany's gone to Aubrey. They kind of have this like bond of sorts. And I just don't know what that's going to mean for Genevieve. So we'll have to see how this goes. But I don't think what Genevieve did was like initially bad if it was like her OG tribe, but telling literally everybody you can that she's spreading her name around and expecting them to just kind of like go with it, I don't think was the right way for her to go about this. So we'll see what happens there. All right, so we go to Sela here, and there's not a ton to talk about on Sela, but there is a lot of like funny stuff that's happening. Mainly the fact that Suri is with, like I said, all the new schoolers, and really just can't stand them at all. She is not a fan of how it felt very eerily similar to her on Big Brother 25 when like Corey's like drilling her with questions about her season, and she couldn't stand that. Rizzo's doing the same thing here, and Suri is just not having it at all. She finds him really annoying. She feels like, he keeps bringing up how he first got to know her. And she has this great moment where she talks about, like, strangers coming to your house and you're trying to, like, make them feel good, but in reality, you don't actually want them there. So yeah, I think this is going to be a really funny dynamic. I don't think Suri fits with this tribe at all. And I'm very interested to see, how this plays out with her, especially because we then get a segment where Dee and Jonathan are talking about how, listen, everybody loves Suri, but that's not really a good thing because, like, if everyone loves Suri, she's just going to get into the merge. And so they actually want to target Suri. In fact, that's kind of Dee's goal here is that Dee talks about how, like, I came in wanting to target Suri, and that's kind of like her main thing of what she wants to do. What do you think about this? Do you think that this is going to work out for Dee? Because I don't know. We'll see. Yeah.
No, that's literally not going to work out at all.
Yeah.
Her and Jonathan immediately, like, they have the right idea. Like, I understand where they're coming from. And even Dee being like, my friend told me, like, I have to get Suri out. They have the right idea, but, like, they, especially when you have Suri and Rick are basically going to be tight. So Rick is not going to turn on her. So that's somebody who you're not kidding. And then Rizzo is mesmerized by Suri.
Yeah.
I don't think you're getting him. So you just have to kind of have your hopes for Charlie and Camilla.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't really see like what they thought of Suri. I didn't think we got too much from like Camilla besides her talking about the camp.
Yeah, the only thing we got with Camilla is, really just her talking about how, like, this is a better organized beach. People are actually, like, putting out a fire, like, keeping a fire, together and things like that. But that's kind of all we got from her, which I was a little bit surprised about. But at this point, I don't see her going particularly far. So we'll have to see. But yeah, I agree with you. I think the intent, the idea of like, let's get out Suri, absolutely something you need to be doing. It's Suri. We know how far she gets in these games. We know how good she is socially, and just how well she's able to kind of just pull people in. And, you see what's happening with Rizzo. Like, he's starstruck by Suri. He's never going to turn against her. Like, he's going to be like, no, this is Suri. I want to play with Suri. The problem is that you need people that are willing to do it. And Dee and Jonathan are only two people on this tribe. And I'm just not convinced that the rest are going in that direction. So I don't know. We'll have to see. I've thought for a very long time, Dee is not getting far in this game. And this moment kind of solidified that for me, that I don't see it for her. So I don't
either. And plus, well, I don't see Charlie doing it because we'll probably, I know you're probably about to bring it up. Why?
I'll go down a little bit. Yeah. Yeah, actually, yeah, I'll get into that now. So the only other thing to talk about in this tribe is we get this really interesting moment with Rizzo and Charlie, where at first it seems like this is going to be a positive moment for him, where he talks about how, and this is a good point. I didn't think about this. Like on paper, he's somebody that is in a really bad spot because he is such an unknown, but in reality, he's actually this free agent and he just needs to kind of find the right people to tell them information to. So he does something that I found to be very interesting and basically like gasses up Charlie and talks about how, oh, you should have won. I'm sad that you and Maria don't talk anymore. And that, he wants him to have like this big redemption arc and kind of use this to his advantage. And it seems like it's going well for Charlie. Charlie even says that like, this is a game-changing moment. This is a really good thing, but there's one thing with Rizzo that he just can't look past. And basically it's that Rizzo told him last night how much he loved Soph on 49, but he still didn't vote for her because at the end of the day, he wanted to focus on putting his feelings aside and focusing strictly on game. And in the same way that Joe had this like lingering PTSD, which admittedly I think is a lot dumber for Joe over what Camilla and Kyle did, Charlie is still really upset clearly with what happened in 46. And this to him feels like, too much of a similarity where it's like, you didn't vote for your number one to win. My number one didn't vote for me to win. And he kind of sees it as like a reason to send him home. What do we make of this, Grace?
Well, another like note on Rizzo, another thing that makes him such a free agent is the fact he was Savannah gone.
Right.
He is the only 49 person there and the only unknown.
Mm-hmm.
So people don't know too much from it besides like his placement.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, unlike Savannah, he also does like can lie about like how he did in the game, whereas like she had to tell people that like she won and things like that. So I do see Rizzo hopefully going far. It's Charlie that I'm concerned about at this point because it's like he hasn't been in the edit much, and this is like the most he's gotten so far, and it's not necessarily like good content.
Yeah, and so he definitely for him wanting to target Rizzo for that definitely is because he is feeling feeling a lot of he not bitterness, but he's just like feeling just so hurt still by feeling so hurt by that vote is and he literally was gonna win and that kind of destroyed him. So I understand why he's feeling that way. But also, I'm gonna say this: Rizzo is such an order. He's such an order because literally all of us, literally we tend because we always end up in cast with our friends and the people that we're closest to, and a lot of us, what we do is that because we all know each other, we do have to take those emotions away when we're voting for somebody to win the game. We do tend to take those emotions away from it, like, oh, you were my ride or die, and tend to vote for the person who played the best game. And I understand. And the thing is, I'm coming into defense on Rizzo on that because I do think that's the best way to go about it. Like, sure, you got very close with your ride or die in the game. But the thing is that do you want to reward someone like your ride or die who didn't do very well, like someone who did not play the game to their full potential? Or do you want to award somebody who went out there and did what they did and did it very well? I would be picking that person. So I kind of feel that's such a, like, again, Charlie is upset about what he had experienced and he doesn't respect Rizzo because he's probably maybe he thinks again and they don't know the final tribal results. Maybe he's thinking Soph had to go through the same thing.
Right.
Which
and
was not the case.
So it was like, I think Soph on a personal level, yes, that was the person that Rizzo liked the most, but Savannah played the best game and he was aware of that. Where like Charlie and Maria was a completely different situation where like, I think that's a whole other different discussion. We're not even going to get into that because there's so many other ways to look at it. But I think I understand Charlie's frustration, but I also think that like Rizzo is valid to vote for whoever he wants to vote for at the end, and we shouldn't hold it against him for that.
Literally, like, I feel that's the point of the game is to vote for who played the best game, not your ride or
Right.
die. Like, I know
Yeah.
you'd probably be more like feel like a lot of times where you will vote your ride or die because you're proud of them and you do think they played a good game in your eyes.
Right. And you know
But
their game better than most do as well. So like you're inclined to like advocate for them and shit.
yeah, but like at the same time, if you know they didn't play the strongest game and they're next to somebody who did, of
Mhm.
course you're gonna vote for the person who was the stronger game because that's the point of voting for a winner in this game is to vote who did it best.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, like I said, I think that like I understand Charlie's feelings, but I don't think taking out Rizzo because he didn't vote for like his friend, I don't think that's something people are gonna get behind. So we'll see what happens here. But I thought that was a very interestingly edited sequence because at first again it seemed like okay, this is gonna be a good thing for Rizzo. And then all of a sudden it's like, actually, no, fuck Rizzo because of this one thing he told me that I just can't let go of. So we'll see what happens there. But that's everything with Sela. Now we go on to Vatu here, and a lot of interesting stuff, obviously, with Vatu. We see immediately that Mike is initially feeling kind of swap fucked here because he's the only one from his tribe, but then he's like, wait a minute, no, I know like basically everybody on this tribe. Turns out, obviously, there's the Angelina and Christian of it all because they were on David versus Goliath. But apparently, he also like has like a close relationship with Ozzy because he knew him from LA and they kind of had like a friendship there. So he's kind of in a spot.
Yeah. They
Yeah.
were because Ozzy I guess was a server at a
Mhm.
restaurant that
Yeah.
Mike went to a lot in LA.
Yeah, I think he did mention something like that. So yeah, he thinks he's in like this really great spot where like everybody really wants to kind of work with him. But I don't think that's Mike's spot. There's somebody else who I think has taken that spot that we'll talk about. But we see Q talks to Ozzy to kind of follow up where they're at in terms of advantages, and he informs Ozzy about how the idol system works this season and kind of who gave it to him. So he kind of wants to make sure that he has the numbers to survive and locks in Emily as a potential 3, but he also feels that Stephanie is good to work with. I think that Q went about this correctly, where it's like, you've spent an entire night with Ozzy already. You kind of need to have that follow up of sorts. But Q's just throwing so much information at him at this point. It's like, you got to like take a second to like, let me just like digest stuff. Like, you can't just be throwing allies at me left and right. Like, you kind of got to like pump the brakes a bit here.
Yeah, definitely Q, definitely. But I understand kind of like why Q was in a like more panicky mode
Oh,
because
yeah.
you have the David versus Goliath people
Yeah.
there, and it's just you and Stephanie that are there, and you're about to go into your next tribal council with no
Right.
votes. So you're trying to get all the people on your side that you can, but you're trying to get all the people on your side that you can. But I agree, like I do feel he talked a little bit too much.
Yeah, as right here, it's like, okay, you're doing a little too much. It's not full on Q yet. There's a moment later that's like, okay, that's the Q that we know, which we'll talk about in a bit. But we see Emily isn't really super close with Ozzy, but she kind of want to works with him since they were on an OG tribe together, and she also knows that Q is someone he has spent a lot of time with. And this is really where I got to talk about that. I think Emily is like by far in the best position on this tribe. Like
Oh
everybody's
yeah.
calling her into stuff. Everybody wants to work with her. This is like some of the best I've ever seen Emily play is in this episode. I think she was by far, I think, the star of this episode for me. But basically she talks about how, they had a lot of time to spend together, so they're in exile, so this could be like a tight 3 to her. And she decides to tip them off about the fact that Aubrey has an idol and that Christian gave it to her as kind of a way to build trust and fully play her own game. And unlike what Coach was doing with like Chrissy, I think this was absolutely the right move for Emily. It's like put all
Oh
the
yeah,
heat
it was.
on, don't put the heat on me. No one's gonna think Christian and Emily are working together. Like this was good work. This was good work from her.
This was smart, and also too, the fact that Christian also upset her in the
Yeah.
first place, that definitely gave
Mhm.
her more drive to be able to do it and be like, "Fuck, you have a quick fuck you for a second."
Yeah, exactly. So Q feels this is a strong four that he could really kind of work with. So he goes to let Stephanie know what's going on and that they just need to show Emily that they're here to play. But he's confident that, like, okay, the second we lose, Angelina's gonna go. There's no question about that. The problem is that, Emily's locked in here, but she doesn't really feel great with this group. It doesn't really feel like she has like much of a voice. They're kind of just throwing things at her, and she doesn't really feel like she has a lot of agency here. So Emily's kind of like, okay, fuck that. Let me just go elsewhere. And straight up goes to Angelina and tells her what's going on and that people aren't really vibing with her. People aren't feeling great about, how she's been playing, that she would have probably been the one to go. Apparently they fed her that all this bullshit that, like, and this is why it's unfortunate that Angelina has not been in the show much, because apparently she was fed information that they were actually going to vote off Rizzo if they went to tribal, and then it was going to be Genevieve. And Emily kind of tells her, like, no, it was going to be you. And you can see how shocked Angelina is about this. But again, a great moment for Emily here, because again, this doesn't feel like I'm just doing this because you're on the tribe. I'm doing this because I generally want to work with you. I actually enjoy your vibe. I don't understand why people are so against you. So again, really great work from Emily here.
Oh yeah, this was her episode, I feel.
Oh yeah, by far. But then we get probably the funniest moment of the episode where, like, she goes to Christian and she's like, yeah, I kind of fucked up. But I told others about it, and the look on Christian's face when he finds this information that she tells him so casually was just absolutely priceless. And like seeing him just like kind of like work through the whole thing, not knowing how to react at first, and him having this full on moment where like he's pissed at her, but then he's like, but I gotta forgive her. I gotta salvage this. Like, there's nothing I can do. So yeah, just a really, really funny moment overall. I continued, like I said, Christian for me, king of confessionals. Always enjoy
Yelling in the
when
confessional. He's like, why did she do that? Why?
yeah, yeah, it was great.
Well,
It was
dude, you
great.
kind of had it, not gonna lie, you did kind of have it coming.
Oh, absolutely. I think that like I would have done the same thing if I'm in Emily's position. Like you didn't feel secure enough with me to tell me this initially. So why does it matter if I tell other people? Like I'm not the first you told. So like, yeah, this is gonna spread, and maybe it does end up falling back on you, but you have to stick with me. Like it's not my fault that you told me this information. So I think it was again really smart of Emily to do that. Pretty much everybody trusts her at this point. And now Christian, who I think in many scenarios could have turned on Emily, is deciding to still work with her because he
Still
needs
work
her.
with her. I know. Yeah. I was gonna comment on that too. The fact that he still was like, okay, we'll still work together.
Yeah, exactly. So really great stuff. So we go to the immunity challenge, and not a ton to talk about here. It's like the classic challenge where everyone's blindfolded and the caller's going to guide the pairs to collect 3 key rings with only verbal commands. Once they have all 3, they will then guide one of the pairs to solve a fire puzzle. I've always really enjoyed this challenge. It's one of my favorites to actually watch. I don't find the immunity challenges to usually be that fun to watch, but this one I actually really enjoy.
This one, look, not gonna lie, because I was on short on time, I did skip through the challenge part when I was on my watch. But it did look really cool with the blindfolding and all that, though.
Yeah, that's fine. I skipped through some of the tribal because I was also short on time, so I don't have a ton to say. Well, there might be some stuff I don't have to say there, but ultimately, for the first time this season, Sela does win immunity, as does Kahlo, and that of course sends Batu to tribal. And this is really where things get interesting here, because Christian's really feeling responsible at this point. He was the caller. He feels like he fucked up, and he feels like he is, gonna be the vote, and, is really, and I don't blame him. Like, obviously, like, he was the one kind of dictating for everybody what to do. But I also feel like this group doesn't really care about who did bad in a challenge. Like, there's just so much more going on than that. And I feel like it's pretty clear at this point, like, that's not the end all be all by any means in this season.
Yeah, in this tribe going, it definitely, yeah, I feel there was just so much dynamics going on with this tribe to where challenge performance was not even going to be a consideration whatsoever. It was going to be based on whatever all the connections that were there. And
Exactly.
I just find it immediately when they got back to camp, immediately Mike was like, "Yeah, Stephanie, I'm writing your name
Yeah,
down."
I was about to get into that. Yeah, he literally goes right to her. And this is where I feel like Mike White is not long for this game. Like there's just no way. And I
So
think he knows it. Like he knows it. He literally said from the beginning that like I'm just here to like do whatever I want, and he doesn't really care.
he's
But
already a millionaire. He already has money because of White
right,
Lotus. So like,
exactly. Like I think he's literally just here to like fuck around and do whatever. And it's pretty clear at this point because like literally goes to Q and Stephanie and he's like, I might vote you. I might vote you. I'm probably voting you. I'm probably voting you, Stephanie. And Stephanie has this look on her face like, well, I mean, I guess I kind of have to vote Angelina here because that's the only other option. And so she talks about how the problem is that Q doesn't have a vote and that if Emily is pulled in, that's only going to be 3. And then with the David versus Goliath 3, that's going to tie. So she's really unsure where Christian is in all of this. However, Christian kind of lets Q and Stephanie know that he would maybe potentially be down to vote that way. Now, why they would believe him, I have no fucking idea, but they do. So yeah, Ozzy then thinks that Angelina should go, thinks it's going to make it easier to not go to tribal again. And Emily, meanwhile, is really just kind of conflicted on what to do here because, and you know, like I said, she's literally dead set in the middle here. There's so many things she could do because, like, she wants to work with Ozzy, but if she did, she feels like she's going to be irritating Christian because, you know, that's someone that she's kind of been working with since day one. So, really up in the air in terms of what Emily's going to do. But the big thing to talk about is, you know, I've talked about Q on this season, and I said, I feel like Q is a little bit better this time around. He knows what he did wrong. He's doing what he can to try to like work through the mistakes of 46. And I generally had faith in him. Throw all that out the window because Q decides that we're playing Survivor 46 again and does something that I generally just cannot wrap my head around where he is so adamantly opposed to people voting Stephanie that he literally offers himself up to Mike and says, yeah, vote me instead. That's okay. Like, don't let it be Stephanie. Let it be me. I think that's the direction that this should go in. And he wants to try to like secure votes. He thinks by doing this, he's going to secure votes for Angelina. When again, he's straight up telling people to vote for him. Grace, what do we make of this? This was insane.
big mistake.
Yeah.
Big mistake. But I watched that happen and I just immediately am like, dude, what are you doing? What like this is your game. Your game. Why are you telling people to vote for you for another person? But for your ride or die? Like, cut the ally. That's what you have to do. Just accept the fate is gonna happen. Cut the ally and find yourself a way to adapt. Like, and he's like, oh, I want to get Mike to vote me so that way they split their votes and still vote Stephanie. I'm like, do you think Mike is not going to go communicate that to the other people who were going to vote, the other people who are voting with him?
Exactly. Like the whole,
dude, bro, that was really, that was the dumbest thing I've ever imagined, telling people to vote for you because you're trying to pull a fast one. And it's like, what do you think Mike is going to do? Just like, okay, and then vote you and not talk about it? Like, dude.
And it's not even the dumbest thing that Q has ever done. Like, that's the thing that's so funny about it. It's like, this is still nothing compared to the shit he did in 46. But I think it really just shows that, like, the problem with Q, I think really that we're seeing is that when he is in panic mode, he just kind of reacts. He doesn't think through any of what he's doing. He's kind of just like, doing the first thing that pops into his head. And he doesn't think of like the long game implications that this could really, or the repercussions that like this could have on him. And I think, we see pretty immediately that like this is a really bad thing because Mike just goes to Emily and just tells her, oh, this is the other part that I forgot to mention, is that not only does Q say to vote me, but he also goes to Mike and says, yeah, I have an extra vote. And so you shouldn't vote me because I will just vote wherever. And, you should be very concerned about that. And it's like, again, like, there's a way to go about this that's like very tactful and a way that like kind of scares people into like not doing that, but like doing it so close to the tribal, it's really never going to work out for you. It's never going to turn out the way that you want, because Mike immediately goes to Emily and he's like, this isn't real. I don't buy this at all. He's a chaotic player, and that they might just end up voting Q here. So Q really shot himself in the foot, I feel like. I think he honestly might have been fine if he didn't do all this.
He didn't do that. They would have voted Stephanie out, because
Yeah.
they already said, okay, we're voting Stephanie out. He would have
Yeah.
survived, and he could have found a way to try and get himself in. But of course, he's gonna do that. And Mike is like, it is Mike said it perfectly in his confessional. He's telling me to vote for him. So why would I not do that?
No, exactly. Like yeah, I mean, he knew immediately. Like, it's like, okay, you're giving me permission, sure, I'll do it. Like, it's you kind of have to go with that at this point. So yeah, we get to the tribal, and Q is the one to be voted out here. And look, is it unfortunate? Yeah, I love Q. I think he's very entertaining. I think, you know, he's always going to be somebody that I always do enjoy watching. But I think it's pretty safe to say I think Q has kind of ran his course at this point. I think we've seen all we really needed to from him. The guy only knows how to be chaotic, and unfortunately, it just never really ended up working in his favor. So I think there was definitely a world in which Q could have done a lot better on this season. But I think, you know, the second he was going to tribal, the second he lost his vote, it kind of just brought out his worst impulses. And I think we were just reminded just the kind of player that Q really was. I think he was brought back for all those same reasons, but it doesn't change the fact that Q is certainly an enigma of a player, and not necessarily in the best ways.
That was just the craziest thing. You're volunteering yourself. Like, literally, you haven't even known, and the thing is, you haven't even known Stephanie for freaking,
Exactly.
you've only known her for, at this rate, like, about almost 2 weeks, and you're throwing your game away for her. That's crazy.
If this was Tiffany, I could maybe understand it, because you guys played on like the same season together. It's kind of similar to like what Mike White is doing, but you literally only been on a tribe with her for a little bit. You haven't even really like, and here's the thing, like, you actually don't know if someone is a good ally for you until you test those bonds, and you haven't had a chance to test that bond with Stephanie. So it's just like, I don't know. The whole thing was just so stupid. But yeah, crazy tribal. Like I said, I think really the big takeaway from this episode is that Emily Flippin is just kind of dominating at this point. She's in an amazing spot, and I fully give credit for her for why things turned out the way that they did, because I think there's definitely a scenario where she just votes out Angelina, and I'm really happy we didn't get that. I like Q a lot, but I definitely want to see Angelina go further, because I don't think she's had enough on the show yet, and I want to see her have more. So yeah, really good stuff overall. A little bit worried about the fucking Zach Brown thing that we're going to get next week. But other than that, I think, like I said, the show is in a mostly good place. But now let's get to what we really came here for. What Grace is most excited about. We're going to talk about Stephanie's journey on the show so far. Now, admittedly, I will say I did watch a good amount of Palau. I did not get a chance to watch her other seasons just because I was a bit pressed for time. I've had a lot going on in this game that I'm hosting and things like that, and I have in work hours, so I didn't get a chance to watch her other seasons. So I'm sure you watched like the video and stuff, so you can kind of like chime in on that. But I'll talk about Stephanie very briefly on Palau. So Palau is a very interesting season because, and we're going into full spoilers here if you haven't seen Palau. It is basically a season that is a consistent steamroll pretty much the entire way through. This tribe, just Ulan just never catches a break, no matter what they do, no matter who they pick, no matter who Karor sits out. They just keep getting bested by them every single second they possibly can. And Stephanie just happens to be one of the best people on her tribe. She's a lot more vocal. She is somebody that is, willing to make moves against people and things like that. And she's somebody that people see as like a genuine ally. Her and Bobby John kind of lock something in. And then, it gets to a point where, Ulan gets so decimated to the point where there's only two people left. The two of them face off. Stephanie wins, and then somehow like actually outlasts like the other tribe for a little bit. I don't think she goes for like a couple rounds after that. And then eventually goes out. And what I will say about Stephanie is that I don't really understand necessarily why she was brought back for this season. I don't think she's that interesting of a character. I think that she has her moments, but I think that as a character, she just doesn't bring that much to the table in Palau, other than she is one of the only like vocal people on her tribe, and she, found the right people at the right time, and she did outlast some members of Koror, but she also didn't even win. So, like I don't know. Stephanie's a weird one for me. But what do you want to say about your favorite player?
Like, first of all, I just want to say, I can't at tribal council. She really voted a Democrat out because I saw somebody me with that. That was funny.
I did see a tweet about that. This is the first time she's voted for a Democrat. Yeah.
First time she's voted for a Democrat. Yeah. And when we got her, I literally was like, "Oh, this is fate for me as being the org Republican here." But literally, Palau, because I knew about Palau like even before I only watched like 2 episodes of it before this, but from what I knew what happened on that season is that Oolong just got completely just wiped out, and Koror just kept winning every freaking challenge, and Stephanie was the last person remaining on there. So I feel like a lot of her game is how I played, especially the last like game that I played. More of a survivalist game. Just there's not too much strategy behind it at all. You're just trying to socially do what you can to make sure it's not you. And the fact that she got through all those tribals and she never got voted out, I do have to credit her game that way.
Definitely.
Do have to give credit to her game that way. But yeah, like strategically, there's not going to be a ton for her to go off of. And I definitely, you're like, why is she on this season? I kind of feel like people just, especially like casuals, they want to see, oh, she got, her whole tribe went home except her. She's iconic for that. So let's put her on here as a legend.
Right. It's like on paper, that's kind of cool. But like when you really think about her game, it's like, what was she doing that was like so different from the rest of her tribe other than just, survive? Like, honestly. So, did you get a chance to watch her other seasons at all, Guatemala or any of the other ones?
Guatemala, well, there's Guatemala, and she was only in like 2 episodes of Heroes versus Villains. But from my understanding for Guatemala, because she had to play a survivalist game, and she was kind of seen like more as like a hero type character in Palau. But like Guatemala, from what I've seen, she turns into the opposite of what she was in Palau.
That's what I heard too.
She is like becomes very villainous to the point where people don't vote for her at the end.
Yeah, and I think in that way that is interesting, where it's like you have this person who is kind of a hero and then she turns into a villain, and it's like this is kind of her redemption. But what I will say is like Stephanie on 50 so far, I just don't feel like there's much there. Like she is, in a position. I think she's kind of in a bad spot now with Q gone. I don't know how much longer she lasts in the game. She has Colby and there's that, but like there just isn't that much to really say about her in terms of like, what is she specifically good at? What are her strengths? I mean, again, I think the fact that she outlasted a tribe, that's really cool. But there's not much to say about her beyond that. So yeah, I think that Stephanie, I think on paper, like you said, it kind of makes sense why she was brought back, but as a whole, I just don't think she brings that much to the table. So what I will say is that Palau, of the older Survivor scenes I've watched, is by far the one I've enjoyed the most because it feels better in terms of the editing. I enjoy the energy. I feel the energy a lot more. I feel like the confessionals are better. I feel like the gameplay is a little bit better. So as a season, I definitely can say good things there. I just don't really have a lot to say about Stephanie, unfortunately, to our fellow Republican here.
The fellow Republican. No, literally. Well, the only with Palau, Yeah, no, the first 2 episodes I watched, like, I enjoyed the first vote out on that tribe because that was an interesting turn of events. That twist at the beginning, though, that was, like, nasty.
Yeah. Yeah, no, yeah, that shit was so stupid. I don't know why they did that. Like, just have 18 players. Like, you don't need. They were trying to do something cool of like, oh, we'll have 20, and it's gonna be really different. And it's like, if you're gonna do 20, just do 20. Like, it doesn't make sense to cut the cast for really virtually no reason at all. So yeah, I think that was pretty stupid. But yeah, I think that's pretty much all we have to say about Stephanie. If there's anything else you wanted to say real quick.
Well, I was also looking, wasn't she on Traders as well?
Oh yeah, she was. Yeah, I did watch her on there. And the big thing with her on there is that she was pretty much like one of the people like most supporting Suri, which is why when I found out where she leans politically, I was pretty surprised because it was like I thought that she was a little more progressive than that, but I guess not. Especially now that when you look into things that she said, things that she supports, yeah, very, very much not a Stephanie fan in that way. And so I tried to watch her season and see, like, as a game player, what she brings to the table. But again, there just wasn't really much for me there. So it's just hard to really find the appeal, I would say. So, but yeah, so that's Stephanie. And I think we're just going to kind of wrap it up there. But before we do have to see who our next person is. Were you going to say something else? Yes. Let's do it. All right. So we're going to go to the wheel of names here. I got a little bit of a background now because, it's Survivor 50.
Oh, so I like that.
Cool. Yeah. I figured out that this is something you can do with wheels now. So now I'm trying to do it more consistently. All right. So we're going to go to who is going to be the next person we talk about next week. And it looks like it's going to be... All right, Angelina. So that means I have one season to watch. Super easy. Probably one of the easier ones I'm going to do. Technically, you can talk about Christian here too, but we're really only going to focus on Angelina. So, it'll be the same season. I'm just going to look at it through 3 different perspectives, basically. But it's mainly going to be, like I said, it's all going to be about Angelina's journey and kind of, what she's done on the show up to this point. So very excited to look at that one. But yeah, before we wrap things up, Grace, anything to plug? Anything you want to talk about before we wrap things up here?
I just want to say thank you so much for having me on this podcast. Yes. If you have space later for this season, I'll definitely love to do another one.
Yes, definitely. And I don't think this is your Twitter anymore, but I do have this.
Oh, I changed my Twitter. I did change my Twitter user.
I figured, but that's the one I have saved.
Let me see when I made my Twitter user. Hold on, let me look. Give me a second.
This tells you how long it's Grace has been on my channel.
Grace 512, and that's my name basically with 8 R's, 512.
Yes.
And that's my same username for Instagram and Snapchat as well. I use the same kind of handle for that. And then my full name, of course, on Facebook. And yeah, no, this was a lot of fun though. Yes. What else was I gonna say? I'm excited for the rest of the episodes for this season. I hope it continues being great. And also, another thing to plug in, support Distortion Survivor, because that's going on right now. And for any future seasons, please apply. We would love to have you on.
Fantastic game, Distortion. Definitely play if you haven't. If you're interested in Survivor, you're like, I can do that. Go play Distortion. It's a fantastic game. But yeah, anyway, we are gonna go ahead and wrap things up here. So, let me know what you guys thought of this episode, what you're thinking of the season so far. If anything you want to say about Stephanie's game that I maybe left out that you think is interesting, because again, maybe there's something that happened another season that I didn't see, but of what I've seen, I just haven't really been that taken by anything. But yeah, if you're interested in any of that, definitely consider supporting my channel and also subscribing. Love to be a part of all of that. Other than that, guys, for this video, hope you guys enjoyed it, and we will see you guys later. Okay, bye.